and so that we can get this on. And I am so excited. I'm like, fangirl is here, and she's got her book.
Yeah.
And I got it, and I came out, Marla,
Oh, yeah?
on Instagram. And maybe on Facebook too.
On all the
And
things?
I credited you. I don't know if you saw that or not.
I haven't seen it yet.
I credited you with one of my, and this is a big thing to say, peak erotic moments.
Ooh.
And I shared one of the photos.
Oh, I saw your photo. I saw the photo, yes, and I saw the peak erotic moments. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And I really credit you in part for that. I mean, obviously the person I was playing with virtually, they get credit too. But as a somatic sex educator, I spend a lot of time with bodies. I spend a lot of time, healing the trauma and doing all the things that I do. And I always say that sex is play. And the one thing I really haven't played with in sexual, I've done BDSM, I've been the ultimate bottom, I've taught topping and bottoming, and
all the things.
oh, I've done all the. I thought I did all the things, Marla, but no, I really hadn't liberated my language. Didn't liberate really my tools for flirtation and seduction.
Mm-hmm.
And your book, everybody can all see this. She didn't pay me to do this, okay? I'm actually paying her to be on my show. The Ultimate Guide to Seduction and Foreplay, Techniques and Strategies for Mind-Blowing Sex, and we'll put the links and everything up for people. What this enabled me to do, Marla.
Uh-oh.
No, baby.
I'm excited.
So this guy knows how to throw the ball. Now, not everyone has a partner.
Right.
Who knows how to throw the ball. Maybe you need to become the partner
who
throws the ball, right? In this case, have somebody knows how to throw the ball. I knew how to catch it.
Oh.
And you got to be able to catch the ball. Like, so they throw the ball, right? And you go, so I'm going to pretend I'm that person. I'm throwing the ball at you, Marla. I'm like throwing the ball at this partner, not at you, but at this pretend play partner. Throw the ball, and they're like, "Where's the ball?
Right.
Where's the ball?" And you go, "It's okay. It's okay. I'm going to throw the ball again. The flirting seduction ball. I'm going to throw it. You hang in there. I am going to throw the ball again." Yes. So you wind up and you throw the ball again, and it goes like they try, and it goes somewhere over there. And then you're like, it's okay, we could do something else. And so, hi everybody. Hi Tamara, hi everybody. So the idea is not just to know how to throw the ball,
right,
but how to catch it.
Yes.
And because of, like, wearing your book out, I was able to have a multimedia. Are you with me?
Yes, I'm listening.
A multimedia virtual experience with a play partner.
All right.
It had all the things. It had the words. It had the photographs. It had a little video.
Ooh.
It had like all the things. And I learned it from you, Marla. And you freed me up. And it really, 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 all the things, Tammy, all the things. You would have been so proud of me. The hardest thing to figure out was, and I had never done this before, right? Was how to take a picture of my hand on my pussy.
Ooh, yeah.
That was like really hard because it was, I couldn't see what I was doing.
gotta master you gotta get, I have a mega selfie stick, which is phenomenal.
I'm gonna have to get that. He ended up getting a video because I could turn that on and then like do something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
While that was going on, he thought I was playing hard to get for the big silence between our back and forth. So, what I'd love for you to talk about tonight, so I'm gonna have Marla back again. Like, and I would love, first of all, she does this amazing talk on liberating your language and dirty talk and all those things. But I want to save that, Marla,
Mm-hmm.
for our passport to pleasure on the 21st. So people want that with you and me. They're going to have to come back for that.
Yes. Oh yeah.
But what I would love for you to talk about, and we didn't really talk about this so much in advance, but when I one of the first things I started to read when I read your book, the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
when I started to read the Marla Bible,
The
okay,
Jess and Marla Bible, yeah.
the Jess and my, I got to get to know Jess. I have to start seducing Jess. Does
Mm-hmm.
she even know who I am? Does she even know who I am? All right. I love the 7 statutes of seduction. Can you see that I even have them like
Yes.
underlined? And
Yes.
I thought, unless you had like another place to go tonight, I thought, what a great place to start.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to cue you on them?
Sure, you can.
Would that be?
So,
You
yeah,
want to
that's
say?
fine.
Would you like to talk, Marla?
No, you're fine. Please cue me because I think you're really good at facilitating. But your microphone, you might want to place it maybe either above or below. It's coming out really loud or distorted a little bit.
Oh, okay. So what I need to do is lower it.
Okay.
How is that?
It's good. It's still kind of like sometimes at the end it has a little uh, distortion, but
Is
so
that
keep
better?
talking. Keep talking.
I will keep talking. Is that any better?
Oh, yes,
Is
that's
it,
much better.
okay. It has to do with the volume.
Yes.
Thank you for telling me that.
Mm-hmm.
You're a professional.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we're with Marla. For all those of you who don't know everybody, we're with Marla Renee Stewart,
Yes.
and she's a fabulous sex educator who does lots of really cool shit, like Sex Down South,
Woo.
and your company Velvet Lips,
Yes.
where people can get really cool products.
Yes.
And I'm in love with her book, and we're going to be doing a book club for
Yes.
my shameless women, for the women in my group and in my everyday women. We're going to do a book club, ladies, around this book because I'm so hot on it. Yeah, you bet, Tamara. We're doing a book club because I want you to learn from this woman because she brings a whole other set of tools to the game.
You got to. You got to.
You got to. And so when I started reading, I loved your 7 statutes of seduction. Tamara's ordering it right now. That's right, baby. You go do that. Tamara's one of my girls. So the 7 statutes of seduction, and the first one starts with build anticipation.
That's right.
You want to talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah. So the thing about so one of the things we talked about really with regards to anticipation is like this is what can set you up for success is the anticipation. So it's like the anticipation is the actual piece in seduction that gives you pleasure, right? And it gives you all the good hormones flowing in, and seduction is about the tease and the please, and when you build anticipation, bam, it's just it's really it's it helps you. And I talk about this a little later in the book, talking about planting sex seeds, right? And planting sex seeds is one of those things that helps you to build anticipation. When you are like mentally ready and your body's ready, your mind is ready, then you are ready to receive pleasure. But if those things aren't put into place ahead of time, then that's when things can falter. So that is, that's one of the not so great things when people are not so great things, but one of the things that people don't think about when it comes to seduction. So yes, building anticipation is an absolute must to if you want to have some good, vibrant, energetic, sexy, pleasurable experiences. Yes.
Number 2, show curiosity.
Yes. So what's interesting is that people always want they always want you to learn from them in some way, shape, or form. So showing your curiosity, asking questions, really trying to get to know someone on a deeper level is really, really um, enticing for people. And so when you're showing curiosity, you're asking the questions, you're getting feedback, you're actually feeding to not only the pieces of you that are fueling the experience, but you're also, you know, feeding into awareness of yourself and other and how you are with other people in those pleasurable experiences. So yeah, showing curiosity is also number one thing, asking questions. And in the book, we have like a ton of questions to help you get curious and get aware of you and a lover. So, yeah.
And I think I'm also like writing your name because people are asking. If you want to put your link there, that would be great.
Yeah.
Um, I think that, you know, people really enjoy attention. They
Mm-hmm.
really enjoy an inquiry. They really love to know. They would really love people to ask about them. We don't have people ask about us all the time, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and so when we get someone to actually pay attention and
Mm-hmm.
act curious about us, it's beautiful. And you get an opportunity to learn. Would you like scratchy or soft?
Right.
Do you like public or private?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like surprises or organized?
And it's so interesting because people don't really take the time to ask those questions. There's a erotic activity sheet I make people fill out, and when I say I have couples, right, and I have them fill it out, and they switch the sheet, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even know you were into this, or I didn't even know you were into that." Like, tell me more about that. Like, how did you? Why is it? You know, why do you want to? You know, do this or do that. So showing curiosity is super, super important.
Number 3. This one's a big one. Is everyone ready? It's really big. This one's really hard for me. Really hard.
You
So
are you
hard.
go big and go hard, I tell you.
I know, but this is an important one. It's let less be more. Especially when it comes to seduction. So can you talk about that? What does that mean? Let less be more. Is that like when we talk about sometimes people being too thirsty for attention?
Yeah, kind of. It's like you got to take your time. You know, really taking the time to do whatever it is you need to do for the seduction to take place. And so sometimes it doesn't mean that you need to do all the things, everything at once. Sometimes it's little pieces, you know, like little breadcrumbs here and there to make sure you are doing the seduction properly, because sometimes it can just be a nice slow process, and you to really curate that process, you really got to take your time, let things flow. Don't necessarily get caught up on or hung up on, like, okay, step one I'm going to do this, step two I'm going to do this, step three I'm going to do this. Like, you, if you want to do those things, great, but like give yourself some nice leeway, because that actually just helps with your sexual confidence in general. So
Right.
yeah, just
And
you know,
let's hear it for sexual confidence, right?
yeah, just a little grab here, a little kiss here, a little, you know, whatever here, a little blindfold dropping here, or whatever the case may be. Just let less be more. Yeah, build it up.
And you know, I think it's also a little bit around like letting the person who you're flirting with miss your face a little bit.
Yes.
Let them miss you just like a tiny little bit, or like even in the space that where I was, the space where I was, my partner had written something sexy,
Mm-hmm.
and I was, trying to keep up with, the virtual sexting Olympics that I had never really participated in. And they had given me a cue about something to do with my genitals. And I was trying to like figure this thing out, right? So there was a bit of a wait for them. There was a bit of a
Yeah.
wait as I was like trying to, because I didn't have the long selfie stick, Marla. Okay. And I was like, well, do I do this? Do I not do this? And I would like, Marla's on my shoulder. Marla would want me to do this. And so in that little bit of wait, they said, oh, are you keeping me waiting? What's going on? What's going
Yeah.
on? So that was a little less is more moment, right?
Yes.
Where I let there just be, not purposely, but I let them kind of hang out a minute
Yeah.
while I was trying to figure out how one touches their genitals with one hand and take a picture with their other hand, which
Yes.
is something you need to practice, everybody.
Yes.
You need to
Practice.
practice the skill set. Now, let's be clear. This is not sending genital pics to unknown people. This is not how we say hello to people. This was a part of a virtual scene
Mm-hmm.
that I was playing with a partner. So you sort of touched on this one. Be present and mindful.
Mm-hmm. So when we're present, and so here's the thing about seduction. Like when you do the seduction and you're building the anticipation, you're showing curiosity in your partner, you're letting less be more, you're doing all these things. When you're in the situation, you have to be present. And the reason for that is when you're not present, guess what? People feel that energy. People feel that energy when your mind is somewhere else, when you're thinking about what you're going to eat for dinner, or if the kids are okay, or whatever else. Like when you're really engaged in a sexual experience, it's super, super important to be present. And if you find yourself drifting, bring yourself back into the present moment. And there's plenty of ways to do that. One of the ways that I tell people to be present is really through erotic breath work. So when we feel ourselves going away, or our thoughts going somewhere else, or our brain just being busy, it's super, super important to just breathe in through our nose, out through our mouth, and really engaging and centering ourselves and engaging in that pleasure once again. And that's just super, super important. And then also just, of course, being mindful. When you're mindful of your lover, your environment, your body, like all the different, sensations. Your pleasure skyrockets. It goes. It moves. So it's very, very important. Just
Can,
really,
can I add a tidbit?
yeah, please.
So what helps me when I start, and by the way, people, you can ask us questions. Just write to all panelists, and people have their hands raised. You don't have to be so polite. Just write in the chat box to all panelists and attendees, or just to all panelists, and we'll be able to read your question and answer them. So feel free to write your comments and to ask your questions there. We will see them and we will answer them. Sometimes moving my body,
Mm-hmm.
Marla, like, so if I'm on my back, I get on my hands and knees. I switch my own physical position.
Mm.
That helps me a lot. I'm making noise. What's an example of erotic breath work? Well, basically, there's all kinds of erotic breath work. But if you want to be And if you come to Passport to Pleasure on July 21st, and I'll put that link, we're going to be teaching it. Okay,
Yes.
so there's going to be some workshops. I hope that comes out right. There'll be workshops on that. But it's really just conscious. It can be as simple as conscious breathing. It could be hot breath, like, it could be like fire breath. Do you have a breath for us, Marla?
Yeah, I love, I teach the breathing in through the nose, big breathing all the way down to the genitals, and then
Mm-hmm.
doing a Kegel exercise or a pelvic floor exercise and flexing, and then holding that for 10 seconds or so, and then releasing.
Breathing it out.
And that helps like the sexual energy flow in the body, as well as, getting you centered and present in the moment.
Absolutely. There's lots of different kinds of breath work and energetic breath work and breath work to move orgasmic energy through your body. And you can spend a lifetime, and just learning one or two techniques can
Mm-hmm.
be enough to put in your toolbox. Now, here's another hard one for me, Marla. You have
What?
hard ones.
What?
Don't take everything personally.
Oh, yeah. You know what? It's interesting because people who tend to be more empathetic and really are more emotional, show their emotions really on their sleeves, or just very sensitive, tend to take things a little bit more personally than those who don't, right? And so I always, you know, it's one of those four agreements, right? Like, don't take things personally. And even though, like, it, sometimes it's in our tendency to be like, okay, don't take it personally, but sometimes we do, because we're like, well, what's wrong with me? Like, why don't you whatever? Like, what is the problem? What am I doing wrong? And what I say is sometimes it is about you, but sometimes it's just about them, right? Too, and them wanting to, maybe not communicating the things that they need to help you do the things that you need to do.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
Absolutely.
taking something personally is it can be difficult for a lot of people, and I think it just takes practice. You really just have to practice it and say, like, hey, it's not about me.
Right. And that's hard because it's you who's having the
Mm-hmm.
feelings. This is a really great question, and we can both answer this one.
Mm-hmm.
This is from Tamara Vera, and she says, "Thanks for this. How can I ask how can I talk to my boyfriend that I need more time to get really aroused so he doesn't hurt me when I have sex?" So first of all, so many women are the victim of premature penetration. Like
Yes.
premature is a thing. It's a
Yes.
thing. And so you're not alone. I know that doesn't help your vagina to know that it's not alone when you're having pain with premature penetration. So I think it's, first of all, your vulva needs a good long ass time to get aroused.
Mm-hmm.
She can need a half hour. She can need 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe presenting your boyfriend. I mean, I happen to love this product. I don't make any money from any of this shit. I like sex butter.
I've heard of
Um,
it.
yep, I like sex butter. It's a great lubricant. I do a lot of public demos,
Mm.
and there's no graceful way to put this. There's a lot of finger banging going on during those demos, you know? And I always put sex butter on, a lot of it, more than they say you need, and that provides protection to my vulva. Sometimes the lower part of our introitus gets thin before other parts of our vagina. So really making sure that you are well lubed. Do not go to the party without pre-lubing the girl.
Exactly.
We got to take responsible for lubing.
Yes.
like a pre-lubed oven.
Yes, there's lube shooters. There's there's all sorts of things to get your aroused. But when you're talking to, like, I'm thinking about when you're talking to your boyfriend, or how you can get him to say, like, or how you can get him to be like, hey, I need more time. You just have to sit down and have that conversation. So when you all are making out and he's like, okay, I'm ready to pull my penis out, maybe you're just like, hey, we need to slow down. How about, people love directions. So if you say, I need you to suck on my breasts, I want you to play with my nipples, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, do this, do that, give him a nice array of things to do before penetration is even on the table. And so you need the foreplay, you need the seduction piece, you need these things in order to be aroused. But yeah, like Pamela said, you got to have that lube on deck, regardless. So
And women don't often like to be prepared for sex.
mm,
Somehow we think that it's a sort of magical, spontaneous thing.
mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it doesn't quite count. The other thing I wanted to say about that is, when in a lot of the lusty talk or dirty talk, or you can use, as Marla said, like, it is so hot for me when you lick my clitoris in circles. Like, you are so sexy to me when you bite the back of my neck. So when you turn it into, it's hot, like, they get extra hot points. They will be spending more time on your body because they're getting extra points for, they're sexier
Oh yeah.
because they're doing this thing. When I see your ass wiggle when you're down on my pussy, I get so hot for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know that it's often hard for us to find our voice and to speak what we want, and sometimes we don't know what we want. And there's support for that. There is really, really support for that. There's a question here. I can only come by myself with masturbation, and only after several hours. My husband gets so frustrated or feels bad, and then I feel guilty, and so have only ever come with him 1 to 9 years. Any suggestions?
So that is totally like a coaching thing, because I would need to know so many things, like what's going on in your household. Are you on any medications? What's going on with your body? There's so many different factors that can come into play with regards to orgasm, and how how you're coming from masturbation and whatnot. So I don't know what kind of masturbation. Is it toys? Is it your hand? Do you have a back facing vulva or a front facing vulva? These are the things that can facilitate better orgasm. So that's like a question with like a whole bunch of things. But with your husband getting frustrated or feels bad, and please don't feel guilty. I don't think you should feel guilty about it. But it's just more so trying to find other ways for you to have orgasms.
Or other
So
ways for you to have pleasure. So, like,
yeah.
what if you, like, take orgasm off the table and not make it about orgasming with your husband? Do you have pleasure when you're with him? Where are the places that you could enjoy having pleasure? Where, that's also like the kind of work that we do, which is finding your arousal. So my guess is you are not finding your arousal. You've got to really get into your arousal before you can find your orgasm. And that's a skill set, and that's coachable, and we have tons of programs. And I'm going to do another little pitch, Marla. I'm going to do another little pitch. So we have an event coming up. It's called Passport to Pleasure. And Marla is going to be there, and she's going to be one of our new sex coaches at Back to the Body. And so you could work with Marla and one of our sexologists and start to figure this stuff out virtually through the lens, get your coaching, get this work done so that you can find your voice, so you can find your turn on, and that's available for you, and you can check it out through Passport to Pleasure. We have some questions. Marla, what about foreplay? I see you talking about dick teasing. Well, we're getting into it. And I'm wondering what tips you have in the blow job realm. The act honestly hurts my jaw. So I would love any ideas about making it more enjoyable for me. Okay. This is my cock from South Africa. The tribal cock.
So when thinking about particularly dick teasing and when thinking about your jaw, it's all about the seduction piece of what we're actually talking about today, right? It's really about like, what are the things that you were doing ahead of time so that you're not spending so much time, with the dick in your mouth, right? So, how are you I talk about in my Art of Dick Teasing class, like, how are you massaging? What are the things that you're doing? How are you pleasing? How are you connecting through auditory? How are you connecting visually? How are you connecting tactilely? What are the things that you are doing ahead of time so that you can get the tease up, right? So in the Passport to Pleasure, I'll be talking about liberating your lust language, thinking about like how you can use your words to stimulate someone, how that can be a total turn on in combination with the visual and tactile aspects. So really make sure that you are the tactics that you're using, you are having those in combination. So with your jaw being hurt, take breaks, position yourself differently. How you're positioned also helps with, having it in your mouth. So there's so many different ways for you to release, because I know I have TMJ too, and so it's one of those things where, if my jaw gets too tired, how do I manage that? And of course, I always try to get the seduction piece in ahead of time so that my jaws, don't really get that tired, and that I'm doing all the things.
And I'm a hand and mouth girl.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing wrong with bringing your hands into oral. Absolutely nothing wrong. And in fact, it can enhance oral.
Oh, yeah.
And you can feel, look at the hands.
Mm-hmm.
And you can feel more in control. So some women don't like that they open their mouth and the guy's just pounding in the back of their throat.
Mm-mm.
And so if you can have your hands on his cock, you can feel more in control of how you move your body giving oral. Your hands can be doing the twist and the shout and the up and the down, giving good strong squeezes along with your mouth and your tongue. And so a blowjob is not just a mouth.
Right.
So bring it all in there. Rest your jaw a little bit, baby girl. Just get
even with your hands, there's some really great masturbation sleeves out there that you can. I know sometimes my hands cramp up, so having even a masturbation sleeve, you can put it around, and then you can just talk or ego stroke and be like, "Oh my God, I love your dick. Your dick is so amazing. It's the best dick. I love it when it's in my mouth, but I love it between my hands too." And don't, whatever the case may be, you can just use all of those things in combination.
Are you getting this, folks? A lot of positive reinforcement.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the deliciousness of sex is freeing our throat. And what's so hard for so many women, and this is where the work is often, is we ask them where they're tight, where the felt sense is in their bodies. They'll often go here.
Mm-hmm.
Because freeing their language to say all those beautiful things that you're talking about, Marla, can be, you have to study it, girls. You got to practice it. You got to practice this stuff. It doesn't necessarily come easily, but the more you practice, the more you're ready to play ball. There's another interesting question from Beatrice. And she's asking how she can make her body more prepared to have sex after having her first child. And that it used to be easy, him just sucking on her breasts and that she'd be ready. But now she doesn't understand her body.
Ooh, that's a whole relearning process. And it is, what's interesting, after you have a child, your body is different and your body responds. It's similar to like as we age, the things that we enjoy now probably weren't things that we enjoyed back then, or the things that we enjoyed then are not going to be the things that we enjoy now. So really giving yourself time and grace and rediscover your body again is really, really important. And don't get frustrated. So really like I say like it's like finding yourself again. So when you're setting up for masturbation, really taking the time to say like, okay, I'm taking this hour to turn myself on. I'm lighting some candles. I'm thinking about all the things that are juicy and desirable to me. And I'm allowing myself to get turned on and see what comes up for you. See what body parts start to tingle. See what kind of things are, really turning you on. And those are the things that can facilitate you learning your body differently, because your body is different throughout after birth, after giving birth.
And there are facilitated programs. So, God, I feel like I would use car salesman here, but at the Everyday program at Back to the Body, we do vulva mapping and we do body mapping. And we do body stories. And these are ways in which, and we do this online and privately. Online, don't worry, your vulva is not up there. We have a staff member who does that, and everybody else is in private. Sometimes we need to go back to the basics of us to get to know us again. So doing things like vulva mapping, doing things like body mapping, really allowing yourself, as you said, to get to know yourself again. And sometimes having that facilitated, Marla, can be really beautiful. I don't understand what you mean, Connie. Can't last long enough to please me. He can't last long enough to please you? Is that what you're saying, Connie? I'm imagining.
We missed a question up top.
Can you find it?
Yeah. So Javia Nicole says, my wife and I have been together for almost a decade, but this year we've been having some of the best sex of our relationship. Oh, that's awesome. But what are some ways to add variety to how we get things started? How can you be adventurous, spontaneous during COVID and with other folks in the house? Oh my gosh, this is one of my favorite things because a lot of times people are like, what do I do? There's like family in the house, there's kids in the house, there's people everywhere, it's COVID. Some people's bodies have shut down because of COVID. So I'm really excited that you are having amazing sex, first and foremost. And then second thing is, sometimes you just need a code word for a quickie. So now that you're having really great sex, I always say like, hey, what is that code word? What is the thing that you can say to your wife that you could be like, oh, it's time, it's about to go down, right? So, maybe you can go meet in your closet. So maybe you say something like, did you check the mail? And then that is code for let's go have a quickie in the closet, right? And so that's one of the things you can do is sort of come up with some code language around the spontaneity and variety in your relationship. And then the other piece is just how to be adventurous and spontaneous. Well, it's going to be really difficult, right now, but the code word thing is definitely help. And as far as
I love notes.
Yeah, yes,
Notes, like really, really, I save them from adventures. So, like, leave a note like under their pillow and say, tonight. Some note. You can make up a story about tonight at 5:00. Meet me in the bathroom, and then at dinner maybe there's another note that says, I want you I want you to take a shower before you meet me in the bathroom. And
Yes.
maybe there's a package that somehow you found with a note that says, I want you to wear this for me and put it
Mm-hmm.
on and wait for me. And so dropping notes, passing notes into their
Mm-hmm.
hands, with little things, texting in the house, doing sexting in the house. And in Marla's book, she has a whole like list of how to like gear it up and like low arousal, medium arousal, high arousal. She gives you some language, all the things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's really fun to come up with games,
Mm.
play
Yes.
games. So you know what I do?
What?
I like the sex dice,
Oh,
like
nice.
really basic, like
Really
like
basic.
really basic stuff. Like it's like spinning the bottle for grown-ups, like how to keep things interesting when you're stuck in the house, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So like you get into bed, you close the door, you lock it, and you go, look, I've got a game.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we just need something a little bit new.
Yeah. And I also think, what you also can do is think about pervertibles. And we talk about this in the book, right? We have a whole like pervertibles, kinky section. And, with the pervertibles, you can always find something in your house to play with. And
Forks.
so,
I love
yeah,
forks.
yes. So really spotting the things in your house that can be used as sexual toys can be really, really wonderful, and you can use that for spontaneity. Hopefully, if people are in their rooms or something of that nature. But yeah, great.
So Amy is asking, how do you handle guys who are intimidated by you telling them what you want during sex and what turns you on, especially if you talk to them about it before and then they don't do what you mentioned and what you are into?
So that is a confidence issue, right? So when people are intimidated by you, and you telling by them telling them what you want, that is, I tend to be like, I'm not sure if y'all are going to be compatible in the long run, because you want someone who is curious about you. You want someone who's not intimidated. You want someone who is willing to turn you on, or to try to turn you on. You said, and then they don't do what they mentioned they and you are into. That is one of the things. Some people talk a big game. Some people talk, but don't necessarily know how to walk the walk. And I think it's really, really important to find someone who can talk the talk and walk the walk. And if you see that what is that imbalance, imbalance is the wrong word, but if you say incongruency, then that's when you probably need to question, like, is this a situation that necessarily is this necessarily a situation that you want to be in? So, but yeah, I think, if someone's intimidated by you, my personal opinion is move on.
And there is this, you know, encouragement through flirtation that we've talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
So giving the positive reinforcement, giving
Yes.
the support. You are so hot to me when you,
Yeah.
like when they are in the midst of it all.
And then also, if you want to teach too, right? Like if you want to teach someone like to do something, so if you get into bed and or you get into a sexual experience and he doesn't do what you want him to do, then if you want to teach him to do it, I think you should do it. And like Pamela said, using positive reinforcement to guide that, like, hey, I really like this, why don't you go ahead and try this and see how that teaching can occur. I know, so for me personally, I don't like necessarily want to be teaching all the time because this is what I do every day, all day. But if you are okay with teaching and getting him there, I think all it takes is just a matter of that, like Pamela said, positive reinforcement.
And some partners, like, really, when it's done, you know, when it's done in a certain way, get really turned on.
Mm-hmm.
So I really love it when you fuck me like that. I
Mm-hmm.
really love it when you lick my pussy that way. Oh, baby. When I love it, I want you to give it to me in that way. I want to suck your cock.
Mm-hmm.
When we approach our desire, I love it when you spank my ass. There's nothing better than you spanking my ass.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we can kind of give it to them in that way, they tend to be more turned on and interested and excited. There was a delicate question that was asked by a woman in the private Q&A,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't figure out how I could respond to her. And she was talking about sex abuse and trauma, and is it too late, and how does she start again? And my work is very the work that we're doing at Back to the Body is so for you. It's for everyone, but you can get started right now. You can get started right now with the Everyday program, which is really safe, working with a female sexologist and a male sexologist together in a triad, learning virtually, and then eventually going hands-on at a retreat. My mother is 94, and she came to a retreat and had her first G-spot orgasm. You
Woo!
woohoo! What I'm trying to say is that it's never too late. 60 is still quite young. Thank you very much. You got a lot of life in your 60, baby. I understand there's trauma, and we can help you move that trauma. I promise that you can really start. You just have to decide that you're ready. You just have to decide that you're ready. I'm going to put the link back here for you one more time. And that's an event where you could just begin to get started. There's a question here about, what do you do when they say you aren't sexually compatible? I eat out.
you you say you're not sexually compatible, right? Like, what do you do? I mean,
Yes.
go ahead.
Well,
How do you say you're not sexually compatible? Then I'll go
well,
say.
well, I think that it's hard to be completely sexually compatible with somebody. They're not going to fulfill all your needs. And
Yeah.
that there's lots of things that you can do to expand your eroticism. You can go to Sex Down South and go to workshops and do the kind of play that you might want to do that doesn't involve intercourse, or doesn't involve, you may have boundaries in your marriage or your partnership. There's a lot that you can do that doesn't necessarily involve breaking boundaries of marriage. Sexological body workers, thank you, Jennifer. Back to Body Retreats help me fill the gaps in my sexual needs with a sex partner. Yes. I mean, that's my book, Shameless. So I'm
Hmm.
hawking everybody else's book. So my book, Shameless.
I'm like, I think I
Um,
have it somewhere right here.
Here it is, but I don't know how to throw up a link. But my book, Shameless: How I Ditched the Diet, Got Naked, Found True Pleasure, and somehow got home in time to cook dinner. I've been married for almost 40 years, and I figured out different ways that I could explore myself erotically without burning down my house. And that exists. Sexological body work, the Back to the Body
Mm.
retreats, um, working with private hands-on people where it's one-way touch, they remain clothed, can open you into a whole world of sexual exploration, which doesn't necessarily mean that you have to leave your partnership. I would have
Yeah.
hated to have left my partner.
Yeah, I would say exactly. And I think what's important is like, if you really feel that this partner is not going to turn you on, or you are not turned on in any way, shape, or form, then yes, you're probably not sexually compatible. And I wouldn't want you necessarily to force yourself into a situation that you aren't feeling sexually compatible with that person. So, um, for me, when I am not, like Pamela said, there are other pleasure avenues. So if sex isn't on the table, maybe it's kink, maybe it's, something else that they can fulfill if you are still turned on by them. If you are not turned on by them, then I would probably say, like, you might want to, give that up a little bit. But
Somebody was really sweet and just put the link up to my book. Who is the sweetie
yes.
pie who did that? I don't know, but whoever they are, thank you very much for putting the link up to my book. That was
Tamra.
Tamara. Thank you, Tamara. That was very, very kind. I'm bad at promoting my book. So there's just so many ways to slice the cat. And it's not this way or that way. Can I go back to your book
Yeah.
and your statutes of seduction? Embrace rejection so that you can expand your comfort zone and take risks.
Yes. Excuse me. Excuse me. Um, so yeah, it's really, a lot of us have a fear of rejection, and with that fear, we prevent ourselves from doing things. So I think it's really, really, Jess and I think it's very, very important to really embrace rejection, embrace that sometimes everything is not going to be honky-dory, right? Everything is not going to be perfect all the time. So embrace like the possibility of rejection. I always say, what's the worst thing that could happen? In this situation, what's the worst thing that can happen? And is that like the end of the world? No. But even though our response, because our response to social pain is just like the response to physical pain, right? And so it can wreak havoc on your mental health. So sometimes the things you just have to do is just embrace that rejection, just say like, hey, it is what it is, and that's perfectly okay. And I think the way to do that is building up your sexual confidence so that rejection doesn't feel so bad, and working your way through that.
What if he gets turned on early and he can't last long enough?
So one of the questions, yeah, what if he gets turned on early and then he can't long last enough? Then that's okay. Then there's plenty of tools, right? So there's, strap-ons for men. There's, he could do hand sex or oral sex. Like penetration is not the end all be all, right? There's lots of different configurations and sexual relationships that people have that don't necessarily involve penis vagina sex, right? And so for me, I know as a queer woman, there's always the options of, hand sex, oral sex, outer course, like all of the different things that you can do that you can gain pleasure from. And then, yeah, it's sometimes it's not always all about the penis. Sometimes you gotta, he can use other things to help you get there.
Maybe you want him to start with a toy before he enters you. So if you want a lot of penetration, get an enjoy and, or any other kind of insertable, and ask him to start with that, like explore this with me, baby. And so you can get the penetration if you're wanting to be filled more, then use him for the end part. Let him be the encore.
Right.
And make him wait. And I would be telling him, baby, you got to wait.
Yeah.
You got not for you yet. That less is more thing, holding back, making him wait. No, baby, this pussy isn't ready for you yet. You're going to have to do this first. And that can be super, super, that's great, Rain. I'm excited. Looking forward to seeing you there. But letting them build their anticipation while you're getting filled up. Because you know what? Women often have, we don't really own this, but we often have far deeper sexual capacity than men.
Mm-hmm.
and many more orgasms, longer arousal. We can go on for hours. And so making men wait for it to we're filled, they get to be dessert.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what was it you suggested before? I think she was actually asking maybe about the Enjoy. I mentioned the Android tool. I don't know.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of Enjoy. I got a lot of Enjoy toys. Something like this?
Yeah, I love that one. That's my favorite
Yeah.
because you can work that yourself. You can
Mm-hmm.
walk with it. Some of our women do um, like pussy meditations with that, where they'll put
Mm.
that in their body and put their legs up on the wall, and then do a meditation.
Mm-hmm.
The weight of that, and it's really, really, really quite lovely. How do you suggest introducing sex toys to your spouse? Well, that's my favorite. But I'll let you do that one first, Marla, and I'll tell you my favorite way.
I mean, that's just a conversation. I mean, sometimes I think, people have to realize what we need to start off with is conversation first and foremost. So if you are, not doing it in the bedroom, right? But really doing it, when you're sitting on the couch or when you're eating dinner or something of that nature, right? Like really engaging in conversation like, hey, I heard of this toy. I was thinking about using it. What do you think about it? Do you think we should use it? Like, just start asking the questions and not being afraid to ask those questions. And once you introduce it outside of the bedroom, then that will help facilitate the moments and the anticipation to when you get the toy and to move it inside the bedroom per se. So, you know, um, yeah, talk about it. All you have to do is talk about it.
Well, I got a game.
Okay.
I have a game. So, and people follow me, they know the game. So the game is if we live in a time where you can actually go into a sex store,
Mm-hmm.
and if you live in a time where you can't go into a sex store, um, my mother's calling. So let's say you can't go into a sex store right now. It's COVID-19 lockdown. So you each get your laptop and you each open up the window and at a sex shop, and you each fill your cart with things that turn you on. Now, the rule here is there's no yucking of the yum.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't get to look in your partner's um, shopping cart and go, ooh, that's really disgusting. I didn't know that you were into monkeys. Like, you can't, like, do that, okay? You just have to be like, oh, you like furry things. So it's a way of showing, not telling.
Mm-hmm.
So you can fill your cart with toys, pornography, books, all kinds of things showing. And you
Mm-hmm.
switch carts, and then you each pick three things from each other's cart that you're willing to
Ooh,
play with. And you order it.
nice.
And that's a great way of expanding your erotic palette with your partner
I love that.
and, you know, learning something. Sometimes it's too hard to say, I would
Mm-hmm.
love you to spank me. But if there's a paddle in your cart, then maybe your partner will get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's a way of doing that.
I like
Um,
that one.
it's a fun game. And then one of your last ones was keep an open mind.
Yes. So, you know, people, a lot of people think they have an open mind, right? Most people are like, I have an open mind. I'm open minded. What do you mean? I'm open to anything. But sometimes in reality, they really aren't, right? Or they're shocked or surprised, or maybe they have shame around something that is sexuality related. So just keep an open mind. You don't have to like everything. Like a lot of times people think, oh, sex positive means you like sex, everything, all things, and that's not necessarily the case, right? It's more of just like being able to be you, know what your desires are. And if someone comes to you and says like, hey, I want to do this thing, it's about like, hey, okay, maybe I'll give it a try. I'm a personal, like, personally, I'm like, I will try anything at least 3 times
At a
before,
girl.
before I say no, you know?
Yes.
It's like, before I'm like, okay, actually, no, I'll come back to it in 5 years or 10 years, whatever, when my body changes, things are different. But, you know, as for this moment in time, I'm going to try it at least 3 times and make sure that I feel good. Because sometimes you try something once and it's like, not really sure. Second time, it might be with a different partner, different lover, or something like that, where the situation might be different. So maybe, you know, maybe it's and then the third time, if it's still sort of then, you know, maybe it's time to move on or try a different erotic activity. So, but I'm all for like, try it at least 3 times, because maybe that third time you're like, oh yes, that did it. And I'm going to keep doing that thing. Right.
Because your
And
body needs to get used to a new thing.
yeah, exactly. And
You know,
it takes
it takes
practice.
practice, practice, practice. It's like, how do you get to Carnegie Hall, right? So Marla, I want you to tease everyone just a little bit about what you're going to be doing on the 21st with me and all the members of the Back to the Body team at Passport to Pleasure. I want you, can you like tease them a little? Give them a
Tease
little
them a little bit. No.
give them a little seduction.
So with Back to the Body, I'm super excited to be a part of Pamela's team. And with the Passport to Pleasure, it's like a variety. It's like a sexy variety showcase. Pamela, your team is amazing. So the last one we did, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. And I really, it really was, you can embody yourself. Like, despite that, I know, because sometimes you're used to having these things in person, but even virtually, I feel like it helps you to embody, helps your imagination, it helps us to see like what people are doing with their bodies, so that it gives an example for, you know, for them to do it themselves. And so for me, what my part is all about the mouthpiece. So,
She
so
got the women really going at our last Passport, and they're coming back for more.
yes. It's so we're calling it liberating your lust language. So thinking about like how you want to use your voice when it comes to talking, right? So the auditory, like how are you orally, in the sense of, well, how are you using your voice to get what you want or to explain your pleasurable experiences? And this can come, it's part of the verbal seduction piece, right? Thinking about, how do you get turned on, you know, with the voice? What are some things that turn you on? What are some things that turn your partner on? And so between now and the Passport to Pleasure, it's vital that you know, talk to the folks that you're dating, and just, I want you to ask them one question. And the question is, what kind of talking do you like in bed? So do you like something romantic? Do you like dirty talk? Do you like your ego stroked? Do you like some directions? You want me to give you more directions while we're in bed? Right? So I want to encourage you to think about this question and then come back to us and then let me know the answer, because I really want people to do their homework. That's a part of what I know what I do. I'm like, hey, go do your homework. So when you come back to me, you're prepared and I can help you go even further in how you want your homework. So we're going to talk about all the things, tone, inflection, all of the wonderful things, and y'all are going to
And she's going to get you working.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And she's going to get you working because it's very participatory. And, you know, and I'm going to just say one more time, I don't usually fangirl anybody. But I fangirl this woman, and pick up her book, read it, come to Passport to Pleasure. And I'm so excited that the women who are involved with Back to the Body and that's where they'll be able to buy the book. That's where I bought the book, actually, was through your shop. And, you know, we're just so excited that our women are going to be able to start coaching with you on a regular basis, and that we're going to be doing a book club with you at Back to the Body in our community for our everyday women and for our shameless women. Marla, you are a delight. You win Best Tattoo. Best
Such an
Tattoo.
old tattoo.
And I will be seeing you in about a week. A little longer, but about a week. And I'm excited. So I hope this was great for everybody. And Marla, thank you so much. We've been on for an hour. I think that's plenty for the world. And Marla,
Yes.
if people want to find you on Instagram, where do they find you? Thank you, Michelle. That was lovely.
Yes. So you can find me at at Velvet Lips Sex Ed, and that's sex without the E, or my page at one Marla Stewart, and that's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course you can go to my website, check it out, velvetlipssexed.com, and yeah, find me at all the places.
Anyway, and Connie saying, I love being complimented that he is feeling great and really pleasing me and wants to please me. Okay, fabulous. What a great way to end. Marla, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun, and there is more to come.
Yes, thank you all for being here. I appreciate it.
All right. Be well, everybody. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Tamara. So nice to see some of the girls here. Thank you, Dorothy. Another Tamara, thank you. Thank you, Connie. Thank you, Alana. And thank you, Amy. All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And more thank yous. We had a great crowd here tonight. Thank you so much. I'm going to end the call.
Okay.
So we feel all the thanks.